Welcome everyone to the second installment of Meet Minnesota Music. Tonight we're going to be talking about concert bands. My name is Nicole Radetich and I'll be co-hosting with Natalie Wilson. But before we do any other introductions, I'm going to kick it over to Professor Betsy McCann, who's over in TCF Bank Stadium getting ready for a recording session with University Band.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. My name is Betsy McCann, and like Nicole said, I'm here with my students in the University Band tonight. Well, a small group of my students. We're doing recording sessions in our small groups that we've been rehearsing in, and we start rehearsal right at 7. So I'm just popping in right now to say hi, let you know I'm really glad you're here. I hope you learn a lot. Nicole's going to share more about the groups that I conduct later. So I hope you have a great evening, and if you ever need anything, you can find my email address and send me some questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Professor McCann, and good luck with the recording session. So, like I said, my name's Nicole. I am the ensemble program manager here in the School of Music. I'm one of two co-hosts and co-moderators. My fellow moderator is Natalie Wilson.
Hi, I'm Natalie Wilson. I'm the recruitment and events coordinator here at the School of Music.
We are planning to have this only run for 1 hour from 7 to 8 p.m. And the recording, this session is being recorded and we plan to post online after the fact. If you have a question, there is a Q&A section in the chat. So please feel free to ask a question at any time and Natalie and I will keep an eye on that. If there are any questions that we don't get to tonight, we can certainly follow up with you via email. So thanks again for tuning in live. And if you do have an interest in the recording, you can check the School of Music YouTube channel after the fact. So I'll let Natalie introduce the rest of the panel.
Excellent. We are so excited to have our panelists with us tonight. I'd love for each faculty member to say your name and give us a brief introduction. And we'll start with Dr. Trinan.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Emily Trinan, and my role here is Director of Bands. And in that role, I have the pleasure to conduct the University Wind Ensemble. I also teach graduate conducting and do sometimes undergraduate conducting work as well. And largely my role is an administrative role, and just to make sure things are moving smoothly and communication is clear between all of the concert bands and the marching and athletic bands. And other than that, I work with graduate conducting instruction and pedagogy, and shepherd the master students and doctoral students through their program. Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this, Natalie.
Thank you, Emily. Next, I'd like to introduce Professor Jerry Lukehart.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Lukehart, and I'm the Associate Director of Bands. And my primary responsibilities is conduct the symphonic band and also teach undergraduate conducting. Over the course of my rather long tenure at Minnesota, I've also served in a lot of different administrative roles. So that's what I'm currently doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerry. And finally, I'd like to introduce Dr. Lance Sample.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lance Sample. My primary role is I'm the Assistant Director of Marching Athletic Bands here at the University of Minnesota. And my primary duties is assisting the marching band and as well as overseeing and running pep band operations there. I also teach undergraduate conducting and marching band techniques as well. So thanks for being on and look forward to meeting you all soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Sample. We also have some students here to provide some insight on the student experience as we navigate through a very unique semester. I'd like for each grad student to say your name and introduce yourself. And we'll start with Lauren.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Weissel, and I'm a first-year DMA candidate at the university. I'm also the director of the North Star Campus Band. And I also serve at the university. I'm a teaching assistant for symphonic band, and I also am a teaching assistant with marching band currently. Thank you for having us, Natalie.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Next, we'll go to McKenna.
Hi, I'm McKenna Tofa. I am currently a third-year undergraduate for percussion performance. And yeah, I participated in the bands the last 3 years now, and it's been a great experience.
Awesome. Thanks, McKenna. Eva, let's hear from you.
Hello, my name is Eva. I am a music education major. I'm a senior this year, and my main instrument is the flute. I've participated in symphonic band, in marching band, in Gold Campus Band playing the trombone, and then I'm also playing piano in jazz band this semester.
Awesome. Thanks, Eva. And finally, we've got Greta.
Hi, everyone. My name is Greta Fisher. I'm a junior majoring in biology with a minor in animal science. I play the clarinet, and I have been in my 3 years in marching band, Gopher Pep Band, Maroon Pep Band, University Band, and Gold Concert Band.
Awesome. Thanks, Greta. And back to you, Nicole.
All right, we wanted to just read a brief introductory statement, kind of overviewing the program of the band program at the University of Minnesota. The University of Minnesota bands serve all university students who desire to participate in concert, chamber winds, jazz, marching, and athletic band ensembles. The U of M band program is a regional leader with a highly respected national reputation in performance, education, pedagogy, and service. Faculty are nationally and internationally recognized with recording projects. They work with guest artists and commission consortiums that are integral to the annual curriculum. Graduate and doctoral conducting students are placed in competitive positions in the industry. The Pride of Minnesota Marching Band comprises over 320 students and receives positive local and national attention. Participation in concert band ensembles is the largest in the nation with 6 thriving ensembles. So with that, we're gonna do a rundown of the different ensembles, and Natalie's gonna take the lead introducing our first ensemble.
Okay, excellent. So first off, we want to start with the University Wind Ensemble. This is one of our ensembles that requires an audition. The University Wind Ensemble is a select ensemble composed of the university's finest graduate and undergraduate wind and percussion musicians. It meets from 1:25 to 3:20 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And for fall 2020, the format is in person or online track. So there's sort of that hybrid there. So I'd love to pose the question to Dr. Trinan. Dr. Trinan, can you explain your thought process and sort of the focus on safety as we were planning to host the ensemble in fall of 2020?
Absolutely. Well, so first of all, I had the opportunity to be on the School of Music COVID Response Committee over the summer. And what was helpful about that was I just was able to connect with my faculty in all sorts of disciplines and different areas within the School of Music to just talk about challenges and opportunities and things that we just might want to consider when we come back together in the fall. And of course, safety was the first priority for everyone, and finding ways to make sure that that was always at the forefront was really the kind of epicenter of all conversations. So when it came to ensembles, with the Wind Ensemble, it actually made sense to combine the forces and the curriculum with the orchestra, because with the University Symphony Orchestra, we have a similar rehearsal schedule, generally speaking. I don't want to get into details on that in a normal year, but we generally have a similar schedule. And Mark Russell Smith, who is the conductor of that, was very much in agreement that we could work together, we can combine our resources and make sure that we're kind of following the same protocols and expectations across the board with those ensembles. And then additionally, and Jerry can speak to this too, a lot of the content we were trying to do was very similar to symphonic band and kind of just how we might deliver instruction in the safest way. So right now, the University Wind Ensemble is combined essentially with the orchestra, mainly because we rehearse Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and so does the orchestra at the same time. So it just made sense in the rehearsal schedule. And what we're doing and what we did for all of our students was we sent a survey asking them, would you like to experience your ensemble in person or virtual? And every student had the choice. And we tried really hard to make sure that it was really their choice and there was no pressure one way or the other. And we created a full curriculum for both tracks. The virtual curriculum has a Fridays at 4 series, like a lecture series, where myself and Mark Russell Smith have presented various topics and sessions, either on score study or programming or repertoire or other sort of topical issues that we hope would be helpful for the students. In addition, we've invited guests to come and give various topics and lectures. Just last week, we had Colonel Jason Fettig of the U.S. Marine Band talk about the life of being a Marine Band conductor and the life of being a musician in that ensemble and working for the White House, which was really an exciting and informative experience. So we have several guests, including Joanne Folletta, who's a Grammy Award-winning conductor, Omar Thomas, who is kind of a up-and-coming fabulous composer who's writing a lot of wonderful works for band. And Jerry's got some amazing guests as well that he'll talk about, kind of affiliated with symphonic band. So in the virtual track, we wanted to make sure students felt like they were getting something really interesting and kind of exciting, and access to people and topics that maybe they wouldn't otherwise get through a normal kind of wind ensemble cycle. In addition, we've given them various virtual projects. So they do have to actually play their instrument and do some things as well. And those virtual projects are kind of a choose your own adventure. And we've set it up where there's some excerpt work and there's some virtual sort of arrangement work or solo work. So just to make sure the students are still playing their instruments, whatever that may be. And also learning some technology along the way, which I do think will serve them well on the other side of their degree. So whether or not we like it, learning about technology and software and applications, you know, it's kind of forcing that issue. And I think it's probably good pedagogically that they experience that. So that's the virtual side. In the in-person side, myself and Mark Russell Smith came together to try to find repertoire that would work for all the students that said, yes, I'll play in person. Of course, that's a challenge because several students said they did not want to. So instrumentation makes that a little more interesting. So for example, you know, we don't have a lot of double reed instruments or horns that have opted to play in person. So therefore finding repertoire for 8 percussion and, you know, 1 oboe, for example, has some challenges. So that's been kind of both a fun and exciting challenge for me to just find really interesting repertoire that can serve those musicians. The other challenge is that we have kind of a limitation of 15 bodies, 15 musicians or fewer in any given piece, mainly because of the space and social distancing constraints, both in Ted Mann Concert Hall and our rehearsal spaces. So that's been another kind of fun problem for me to figure out is, okay, these are the instruments we've got, and then we've got 15 players or fewer. So what kind of music can we play? And we have many musicians that are really exceptional and really talented. So we want to make sure we find challenging repertoire for them too. So, so they feel like they've got some meat and something to actually, or protein of some sort, tofu perhaps, but something that they can sink their teeth into and really feel is a good musical challenge, even though we've got some of these constraints. And then the last thing I'll say is, of course, with safety at the forefront, in all of the in-person instruction, all of the rooms have social distancing like markings. So to make sure that people are either 6 feet or 10 feet apart in all the rehearsal rooms on stage. There's sanitizing elements. You know, we're sanitizing everything after rehearsal with disinfectant and wipes and all of that stuff. Students are required to set up their own stand and chairs and equipment, so no one is touching all the equipment in the same room. And lastly, we have PPE, and all students are wearing masks. And putting covers or bell covers or bags over their instruments. That's certainly complicated and not easy to play with, for sure. And students would be the first to admit that, I'm sure. But the whole point of that is just to really to do our due diligence in being in the safest possible way. And then lastly, on top of that, we are only rehearsing in 30-minute increments. And then we're letting the room that we were in kind of air out for 30 minutes. So that's been another kind of interesting puzzle, is to figure out just how we're going to actually rehearse and then have rooms be spaced out and air out. So that's essentially how we're working this semester. And then lastly, I guess I'd say, is the performances are video recordings on a given Friday, and then we capture that in Concert Black, and our wonderful engineers have been putting together these like compilation video projects of the final performances. to feel kind of close to like a typical performance for our students. So yeah, so that's what we're doing this fall.
That's great. It sounds like an incredibly complicated game of Tetris. And thank
Yeah.
you for your creativity and flexibility, and also commitment to our students, which is really showing through here in the forefront. So at this time of the season, we are near the end of the cycle 1 of the Woodwind Ensemble. Are there any lessons from the first cycle that you took with you onto the second cycle? And if so, could you explain?
That's a very good question. One of the biggest challenges actually for me personally is the programming element. I tend to pick all my pieces of music for the whole year in May. So I can actually study and, you know, thoughtfully have some ideas about the music. But I had to pick the repertoire after August 31st for the whole semester. So that was a bit of a, you know, trial by fire kind of experience. And I say, you know, what did I learn in cycle 1? Well, the other challenge with cycle 1 is originally when it was all set up, we were planning to start after Labor Day in person, and that would give us about 3.5 weeks to kind of mount the first cycle. But shortly before that date, our president had made a mandate to keep everyone online for the first 2 weeks. So that means our first cycle was really only 2 weeks of in-person instruction. And we just didn't have time to like radically change the program. You know, we sort of had to like, let's just do our, you know, college try and make the best of this. So I would say what I learned is just, you know, the students hadn't played with other humans for 6 months. You know, no one has played with anyone since March. And so, you know, the students all of a sudden show up, they've got this music, they've got all this PPE, you know, there's sort of that excitement, but also nervous energy of like, I have to like play with people again. And so I would say, you know, putting together a concert in like 2 weeks, 6 rehearsals is pretty tight. So if I had time, if I could do it all over again, I would see if there'd be a way to change that. The challenge, though, there really wasn't, because, you know, our kind of cycling system was already set up with a hall and with recording engineers and all that stuff. So I would just say, I think 3 weeks would be a better window, or 4 weeks would be even better, just to let everyone kind of get used to the whole thing. So I will say now that we're in cycle 2 and we're recording cycle 2 tomorrow, everyone just feels more comfortable. And I think like sort of the first like, what is this? I think people are over that stage, which is great. So my sense is as the year progresses, unfortunately, the bags and PPE will just start to feel more normal, you know, which for everyone I think is good. But I think that's the biggest lesson, is I just wish we had maybe 1 more week to just get more comfortable.
Absolutely. I'd also love for you to talk about the Fridays at 4 lecture series, and how that's been incorporated in the online setting for the students who have chosen that option.
Sure. So again, that was really just created to try to find a way to make the virtual track feel attractive, frankly. So students didn't feel like they were just having to do these random assignments kind of on their own. I think one of the silver linings of of COVID-19 and all of us getting used to Zoom or whatever platform of communicating is that now we can invite guests from all over the world to talk to us at a relatively modest fee. You know, we're not flying people in, we're not hosting them, you know, wining and dining and hosting them out, you know, at a hotel. So financially, that's really great, because we can invite, you know, some fabulous people to speak to our students. So I just went after some individuals that I personally knew and am friends with, and people I thought would be exciting and interesting, and asked them if they'd be willing to chat with us. So the Fridays at 4 were really just trying to have these fabulous people in our industry just engage with our students in a way that they probably would never have that opportunity otherwise. And the sessions that I'm doing, or Mark Russell Smith are doing, are sessions that we're personally just passionate about, that maybe we've presented at, you know, state conferences, or we do in our seminars or something like this, just to try to let our students kind of know a little bit more about us as faculty. And that's one kind of fun thing is I think in my own presentations with the students, I presented ideas that they probably never thought I had thought about, because all they see me do is rehearse and conduct the music, and maybe didn't know that I'm passionate about programming or passionate about, score study or something like this. So that does kind of give the student a little more window into us as faculty, and what our passions are. But really those series are open to any student. They're not restricted to just wind ensemble. They're open to the whole School of Music and any student involved in campus band or orchestra or choir, anyone that's curious. It's free and kind of open to those students. So we just wanted to try to create a series that would be interesting throughout the whole semester.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes beyond, like you were saying, beyond like a master class, in that you get to know the musician as an individual, as a person, and not just a clinician, which I think is a great thing. I do have some questions for McKenna. I'd love for you to sort of take us through the audition process to get into University Wind Ensemble, and how is it different this year than it has been in past years?
Absolutely. Yeah. So typically in a normal year, speaking from a percussionist's point of view, we're given excerpts mostly from wind ensemble repertoire we'll be playing in that semester. And usually those excerpts are chosen based off of parts of the pieces that are technically and musically challenging. Which is really great for us because we get our hands on it before we actually go into rehearsal, and we have a really good idea of not even just the excerpts, but we get to listen to the whole piece before we get the full thing, which is great. And so typically for percussionists, our auditions are on multiple instruments: marimba, snare drum, timpani. And sometimes auxiliary instruments as well. We've had excerpts. We did Hinastera last year, some crazy tambourine excerpts, which were really fun. And of course, those are usually in person. This year, of course, though, that was not the case. We put safety first, which was really great. And because, as Dr. Trinan said, they weren't able to program the concert rep before August because they didn't know who was going to be in person, we got to do orchestral excerpts instead, which is really important for everyone going to school for music to get their hands on, even if they're not performance majors or even care about orchestra excerpts in general. It's a really great thing to know. So we got some very prominent excerpts that you would typically see in an orchestra audition. So that was a really great experience. And they were also very accommodating to what we had access to. Percussion is particularly complex because not everyone has marimbas and xylophones and concert bass drums in their homes. So they were very accommodating with that as well. And we also had an excerpt from Delacluse, which is a very important percussionist composer in our field. And so being able to get our hands on those things was really a great experience, a very positive experience for all of us. Yeah, and those were online.
That's great. Thank you so much. Do you have a favorite piece that you've played in wind ensemble?
Yes, I do. Actually, I would say the last concert we had in March will always resonate with me. I think that night, like walking off stage, nobody had any idea what was going to go down in the next couple of weeks. But the program was Connections to the Past, which is kind of ironic to think about now. And our closing piece was Latano by Michael Martin. And it's a 3-movement piece about the highs and lows of life. It's like a giant journey, which ends in this horizon. And I think, the last movement is super fun to play and also just beautiful. But the message behind it resonates very closely now. And certainly, I think, has given me some peace in this time to think about that last performance, and certainly some hope as well that at the end of this journey, there's going to be a horizon. So yeah.
That's really exciting to hear, McKenna. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm getting a little goosebumpy here just thinking about it. So thank you for that perspective.
Of course.
I think we're going to turn it over to our next ensemble, which is Symphonic Band, led by Professor Jerry Lukart. Symphonic Band is another ensemble that requires an audition. It's an ensemble made up of select wind and percussion players. And although many members are music majors, the ensemble includes a number of undergraduate and graduate students from other disciplines. They meet from 1:25 to 3:20 on Tuesdays and Thursdays in person. And then this semester, they're meeting from 1:25 to 2:15 on Fridays online. So it is a hybrid model. So Professor Lukart, do you want to talk a little bit about how Symphonic Band is going this semester?
Sure, happy to. You know, when all of this struck and we were really faced with a new reality this summer, I tried to look at everything as an opportunity rather than a liability. So I built the whole semester around 4 pillars. One is performing, another one is connecting, creating, and responding. And when I think about that, the way that we've structured the semester is we started out in sectionals. So the clarinets got all together, the flutes got together, et cetera, by section so that they could connect. Because there's a number of new students to the university every year, and the Symphonic Band welcomes a lot of new students every semester. So I wanted to start with connection. And then we moved from there to small chamber, mixed chamber ensembles, and quartets and quintets, even duets. And that gave them an opportunity to explore some repertoire that's central to the canon of chamber winds music, and work towards that. Today, in fact, was our final day of that series. We recorded today, and now we're going to move into larger chamber works, dectets, 10 players, and a brass ensemble of 14 players, because we're going to kind of push that envelope that Dr. Schreinen was talking about in terms of maximum number of students. And that's going to give the graduate students also some opportunities to conduct, because all the small chamber ensembles were unconducted. So those are some of our opportunities to perform. In addition, each of the students is going to record individually at home for a virtual band experience. And that virtual band experience with Symphonic Band is going to be a march, a Sousa March, Liberty Bell. It's very regular in tempo. There's a click track, and we just recorded the percussionist today. Lauren Weissel, in fact, made that click track using technology of Finale. And there's a click track along with a drone, a baseline drone, and the percussion found it helpful, very. So thank you, Lauren. That's working great. It was a good day, a good start. And we'll put that virtual band piece together. And the first step of that, of course, is to capture all the audio, post-produce it, send it back to the students, and then they'll put in their video track. They'll send that back, and then it'll all be produced into a virtual band performance. So we're looking forward to that, being done near the end of the semester. So in addition to that, of course, we have our Friday Zoom sessions, and we've got some invited guests as well. Some of the guests that I've invited is Frank DeKelly, a household name in band music. And the reason, 2 reasons why we invited Frank. One is he was a classmate of mine at the University of Michigan. So I've known Frank for a very long time. So like Dr. Schreiner, we call on our friends in time of need. And in addition, he's been invited to come in the spring if things work out and be part of our band festival. And so he'll be our resident composer conductor in the spring. In addition, a good friend who I commissioned a number of years ago, composer Alex Shapiro, joined us, did a wonderful session. She's a very creative individual. And then a person that I met recently, Patrick Warfield, who is a scholar at the University of Maryland on American music and musical culture, and specifically on the music of John Philip Sousa. So I thought that'd be a beautiful tie together into the virtual band piece we're doing. So they have a backstory and really understand Sousa on a human level, as well as a scholar level and musical. So that's how symphonic band's structured and going this semester. It's going very well. I don't know, I should use more technology and split the screen, but I'll show you. This is what PPE looked like today with an oboist. So that gives you a picture of the masking and the bag around the instrument. We've gone to great lengths to make it a healthy, safe environment. And that's, as Dr. Trinan said, that's a big deal. That's number one. And it's really forced me to learn a lot of new technology. So we're using Zoom, we're using Loom, Soundtrap, GarageBand, Audacity, Acapella, Finale. We have a Canvas site, which is a platform where we can upload and download lots of information. And of course, we're creating this virtual band, which is a whole nother side of the technology. So we're exploring a lot of technology, and the students are using all of this technology in a very fluid way, and it's going great. I'm appreciative of the opportunity we have to learn in those platforms, because in a normal year, we wouldn't be doing any of that. So again, the ability to perform, connect, create, and respond to each other through technology has been kind of the centerpiece of Symphonic Band. And it's going well, and I look forward to seeing those students live every Tuesday, Thursday, be it a short rehearsal, but we long for human connection. And I have to say this, attendance has never been better. People are so tired of looking at four walls of a dorm room. I think they really, really look forward to coming to the School of Music and just being close to other humans. So attendance has just been perfect. And I really have enjoyed that. So I'm looking for all the silver linings, and we have many to be thankful for. So
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. Yeah, that's quite a list of new technologies. Like, was everyone taking notes? I mean, that was what, 8, 10 different things. I mean, fantastic. And the fact that they're all, new is wonderful. And in response to your comment about attendance, I have heard from some students that band is sometimes their only in-person class. So it's even more so like fulfilling a need for some social interaction. I'd like to go over to Eva, and just Eva, if you could talk about how your rehearsal and overall band experience is going this semester, that'd be great.
Of course. Yeah, so actually this semester, I'm not technically enrolled in symphonic band, but I am helping out because I am doing a senior honors thesis, working with some other groups in symphonic band. So I actually just got to go work with one of the clarinet quartets that Professor Lukart was talking about this past week, give them some helpful feedback, and then help them record today, as Professor Lukart said as well. And it's really been just crazy working with all of the PPE that we have, because as Professor Lukart showed in the picture, we have masks with just holes cut in the middle of them, and then woodwind bags that don't necessarily hurt our playing, but it's a little bit weird to have something just resting on your fingers all the time while you have your fingers on your keys. And it's just been very hard to get used to. And then another problem with working with specifically chamber ensembles is that we have to be so far apart that the sound just isn't the same as if we could be together, listening to each other very clearly and communicating that way. So even though there's all these things, it is very nice to be playing with each other. I know for me, band is my only in-person class, and it is really the only place where I can see people other than my roommates, which is important and something that we often forget about. So it's been very nice to just get out of the house. Even just on Tuesday, it was snowing, and I got to walk to Ferguson Hall in the nice snow, and it was nice to go on that nice walk to my band class. So it was a lot of fun to be participating in that this semester.
you mentioned you're a senior. Do you have a favorite piece that you've played while you've been at the U of M? You mentioned that you've been in several ensembles, so I mean, I can give you an out, and if you want to mention a couple, I'm curious to hear.
So last semester, or excuse me, last year in symphonic band, for the November concert, we got to play a piece called El Arca de Noé by Oscar Navarro, which was a wonderful programmatic piece going through the story of Noah's Ark. And there were so many different elements to it, so many great lines in all of it, you know, flute solo being the dove and horns ripping all over the place. And it was just a really, really great piece that I still listen to sometimes today.
That's fantastic. Thank you. I think I'm going to shift over to University Band. That's the group that Professor McCann is leading as we speak in a recording session. That is another group where auditions are required. It used to be non-auditioned, but it was so popular that we kind of changed course and added an audition to kind of make sure people were ready to make that commitment. It is an ensemble of wind and percussion players who represent a combination of music majors and students from other disciplines. There's a mix of ages that range from PSEO students to PhD students. They meet 2 times a week on Monday and Thursday nights from 7 to 8:40. It fits well into most schedules. They perform a variety of band repertoire, ranging from band standards to world premieres. And during a normal year, they would perform a community focused concert. And the past examples have been a Halloween concert, timely for this time of year, right? And then a movie music concert. And those were both children focused concerts where we had instrument petting zoos and costumes and a lot of shenanigans you wouldn't see in a traditional band concert. Similar to both symphonic band and wind ensemble, there's an in-person or online track going on with University Band. This semester, the repertoire that they're looking at is the repertoire that they're playing is John Mackey's Foundry, Nicole Piuno's Solace Dance, Ryan George's Cafe 521, and Carl Holmquist's Play. And when I was looking at these pieces, all of these pieces are composed by contemporary American composers. So I think she had a little bit of a theme going there. Betsy sent me a quote, so I'm just going to kind of read that. This semester, our students are split into groups of 5 to 6 wind players who rehearse together. These groups are not like instruments. They are mixed so that the students get the experience of playing with other parts like they would in a full band. Our percussionists are in a group of their own. For our performances, each of these groups will be video recorded, playing the pieces, then those recordings will be combined to create the full band recording. Our music for the semester is music that can easily be put together in this way. It's steady tempi, block scoring, and few or no solos. So that's kind of the overview of University Band. And for our student, I'm going to go to Greta Fisher. And as she mentioned, she's been in several groups. So I kind of want to make it a little bit different and just open it up to you, Greta, to kind of give an overview of what you've been involved in your career with university bands.
Sure. So, like I said before, I am not a music major. I am a biology major. So, unfortunately, as much as I would love it to, music does not define my schedule. So, unfortunately, a lot of the time I have to plan my schedule around my actual science classes. And so one thing that's always been constant is marching band in the falls and then pep band I've done every semester. But the timing schedule, my freshman year, I was able to do university bands. And then sophomore year, I was in Gold Campus bands. And so it's, not what I expected, but I still think it's really interesting to there's so many different experiences, even from year to year. It just what you're playing changes, you know, even the director can change. And so I wouldn't say that I've had like a favorite band or a favorite, you know, band semester. They've all been super interesting, especially with Gold Band. You know, we started back in January and we had no idea that we'd be ending virtually. So it was kind of interesting to see them kind of changing as they went. But yeah, so through all those bands, I've been able to, you know, still do marching band, which is something that my high school did not do. So I get to have like big, crazy hype things and all sorts of craziness and just kind of let go, have fun. And then I get to also do, my high school had concert band. So I get to do, you know, what I started doing way back in high school. And I get to continue doing that. And it's just really been fun. There's something for absolutely everyone here.
Can you talk a little bit about just what it's like to balance? I mean, you kind of did it with, you said you have to schedule around your major, but just like when you're in it, what it's like to balance music with your regular classes.
Absolutely. So the special thing about band is that when I'm doing band, you know, it's a semester, it's scheduled time just for band. And thankfully, a lot of that also turns out to be my social time because like the clarinet section in the marching band has game night every Saturday night from 7 to whenever we finish. It depends on the week. Could be 3 in the morning, could be 12. So, you know, thankfully I don't have to do a lot of, oh, well, I really want to see my friends or I really want to do this because, you know, if we want study nights, we've got study nights. If we want, you know, to go see your friends, I see them every day during band. So, well, it's not always super easy. Like, I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, I go to school, I go to band, and then I go home and I go right to bed. Like, it's just not realistic. I still have to do a lot of, you know, homework outside of band, unfortunately. But yeah, it's all about the balance. And I think, you know, I'm on the pre-vet track. It's not super easy all the time, and there are harder semesters. But yeah, I think it's definitely realistic to expect to be able to, you know, have, you know, a STEM major or, you know, in the marching band, 30% of us are in CSE, which is crazy because you think, oh, they never have any time to do anything. They're always studying, but it's definitely realistic to be able to balance school and band. Even, you know, there's so much variation between like marching band, which is in a normal season, 2 hours a day. And then on game days, it's your entire Saturday. And then like concert band, like Gold Band, you know, 2 hours a week. It's whatever you want, whatever you're looking for, there definitely is something for you.
When you were coming in to your first year at college, was it like a no-brainer that you were going to join band, or were you a little bit on the fence, like, will I have time to do this? Will I not?
Definitely. It was something that I, you know, was questioning even before thinking of, you know, or auditioning for marching band. I was like, I've never been in a marching band. Why am I doing this? But no, it was just, you know, band is something I like. So why wouldn't I like trying a new band or, you know, continuing with concert band? So yeah, I definitely, you know, there was the, well, am I going to have time? So definitely, especially during the first semester, that fall semester, when you're trying to make friends, you're trying to figure out the best way to study without doing it all night or not doing it enough. It was a little tricky to kind of balance. I was in marching band and pep band, so it was a little different or difficult to balance. But, you know, once you find, you know, these are my classes, this is what I can expect for a normal workload, it's a lot easier to kind of balance all that. So the first semester was a little tricky, but I mean, that's how it is for a majority of incoming students. So I think, you know, it's all about finding what's best for you and something that works for your schedule.
Absolutely. Yep. Works with your schedule. And we're glad that you dove in. I mean, Greta's really involved with the marching band in a student staff position. So she's putting in a lot of time in addition to just rehearsals, contributing to the band in other ways. So you do not need to be a music major to be in band. There's more people that aren't music majors participating in our bands than are. So thank you so much, Greta, for just being our representative non-music major, science major. There's many of you, even though you're one on the panel, there's many of you in the program, and we appreciate that. So the next thing we want to do is talk about campus bands, and Natalie's going to lead that one.
Sure. First, before we dive in, Dr. Trinan has a photo of the PPE in action. So at the recording of the wind ensemble on stage, Dr. Trinan, if you'd like to share your screen with us so we can see that. So that is social distanced wind ensemble performance.
What you can't see here is a bari sax or a bassoon. Those bags are the most obvious on stage. They're quite large, as you can imagine. But yes, what you see here, everyone's wearing a mask on their face with a slit, and they've all got the instrument covers, bell covers or bags. And believe it or not, the sound is not altered all that much. Intonation can be affected, but the actual volume is not, interrupted too much. But anyhow, I thought I would share that with you all.
Yeah, that's really great. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's kind of neat to see how this is playing out in real time.
Natalie, you're muted.
Thank you. You couldn't hear the quip that I just said, but it was funny. I'll let you know. So now we're going to move on to campus bands. There are 3 campus bands, the Maroon, Gold, and North Star bands. They're all online this semester. This is one of our non-auditioned ensembles. The campus bands are open to students of varied majors and disciplines within the university. These ensembles allow for all level of student musicians to enjoy making music with limited rehearsal demands. So our Maroon band meets from 7 to 9 p.m. on Monday. The North Star band meets from 7 to 9 on Wednesday. And the Gold band meets from 7 to 9 on Thursday. And again, for fall 2020, the format is online. Dr. Sample, I'd love for you to take us through sort of what's going on in campus bands this semester.
Sure, thank you. So just like what my colleagues were speaking about with their ensemble, with the campus bands, we were presented with the same challenge of the fact that we were here in a global pandemic, and we had a semester to plan and trying to figure out how to put our ensembles together and have some sense of normalcy for this semester. And because of the fact that there was just a constant changing of what was happening, obviously that everyone was noticing, things had to change in terms of the exact way that we were going to deliver instruction. So what we decided to do for our campus bands was to be completely online as far as our instructional delivery, because we wanted to at least have a fundamental baseline of exactly knowing exactly how everything was going to go. So if we were going to be in person and then something was to have happened, then we would have to completely change and pivot to virtual, then there would have been a little bit of an issue there. So we wanted to go ahead and just make campus bands be completely virtual. The other reason why for that, that we decided to go that route was because the majority of our students, like has been said previously, are non-music majors. So because of that, so we have engineering majors, computer science majors, et cetera, who have in their schedules as well are either in person or virtual. So we felt that for this semester that to just have a constant of it being completely virtual was the way to go. So the way that we deliver or have decided to deliver it online is mostly completely through Zoom. And like what Professor Lucart has mentioned, we've done something somewhat similar as far as how we do put together audio. Our final project together of the 3 campus bands is to give a virtual band performance that's going to be later in the semester, targeting for it to be in the last week of the semester, around December 15th. So at least for Maroon Band, what we have decided to do, and basically for the other two bands as well, we are utilizing Soundtrap and having students record certain excerpts of pieces of the repertoire that we've chosen. And then we give feedback, of course, on what they have played for us, and then they would do either a re-record, in this case would be a performance recording, and then we compile all the audio for that piece, which we're still in the middle of right now, and then we will edit that and master edit it, and then eventually it'll get back to the students, and then it'll be recorded, video recorded for the final product. And those three groups are doing exactly the same thing, even though the repertoire is different, and it's going to be culminating into one final performance at the end of the semester, like I said previously. So as far as Maroon Campus Band conduct the group in the fall, and what we're doing a movement from Frank Ticheli's Simple Gifts. And what we decided to do, Frank Ticheli has like other composers have put together, have taken pieces that they have written and created flex band instrumentation. So a way to make it so that there could be based on the ensemble or based on the instrumentation that you have, that all parts could be covered in basically. So for the three campus bands, we have chosen one piece in particular of that. And so for Maroon Band, like I said, we have decided to do movement from Frank Ticheli's Simple Gifts. And for the most part, it has been somewhat of a challenge, but it's actually a great experience to use technology and using Zoom and Soundtrap. And it's actually quite interesting and enjoyable for the students. One other silver lining, and has been mentioned before, is that we're able to bring in guests for our weekly meetings. And this past week, for instance, for Maroon Band, we invited Mallory McHenry, who was a young artist in residence for NPR's Performance Today, hosted by Fred Child. She's currently completing her doctorate at the University of Texas at Austin, and she's a harpist. Later, we will have Kevin Fedsky, who placed second in the Falcone euphonium competition, and he was a master's graduate from the University of Texas at Austin. And there'll be some others as far as Maroon Band is concerned, be later this semester. So that is what we are doing as far as Maroon Campus Band. And I'll turn it over to Lauren, and she can talk more about her band.
Great. Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Sample. I'm just going to piggyback on a couple things he said already. But Campus Band is one of the highlights of the week for me. And you would think we're talking about all these ensembles that are meeting in person or hybrid, and you get to this one that's been fully virtual, and you're just like, well, how does that work compared to the rest of them? But I've really used this opportunity to do something that I would never do before, which is work on this piece that's called a composition piece, essentially, where the composer has given you little snippets, and then really everybody uses their collected creativity to put this piece together. And it's been really incredible. And I won't go into a lot of specifics about it, but it's led to some very wonderful conversations because it's a piece about North American indigenous people. It's based on a book called 13 Moons. And in this process, we found out that 13 moons are specific to the area that these specific indigenous people are from. So 13 moons in Minnesota may be different from 13 moons in British Columbia, just depending on your harvest seasons and things like that. And I learned that through a student in Campus Band. So it's just been an amazing project, and I'm so excited. We're working with the composer, Jody Blackshaw, and she's from Australia, so we would never have gotten that opportunity if it wasn't virtual. So I would highly recommend, if there's any We have students that are music majors as well. There might be education students that want to get coaching experience, or they want to get better at a secondary instrument, but it's mostly students that are non-majors. And I think it's an excellent entry point for anyone who knows that they want to continue with band, but they're just not exactly sure how that's going to fit in their schedule. This would be an excellent jumping off point for a lot of people.
Great. Thank you so much, Lauren. It's really good to hear, to have some context around what's happening, both online and in the classroom. And it's really a testament, like I said before, to your creativity and flexibility that everyone is able to work with these new technologies and brainstorm new ways to actually benefit our students in ways that we didn't know we could before. So that's really great to hear.
I wanted to say one thing. Our third campus band meets on Thursday night. So that's another group that's meeting right now as we speak, and that's led by our other doctoral student, Sean Evans. So there's music happening in many different capacities, even during this hour that we've been talking. So that kind of wraps it up. I've been looking at the Q&A and haven't seen any questions. So this is your chance. If you want that question answered, now's the time. Natalie and I have a few more announcements that we'll cover. And, we got 5 minutes here. There's a couple additional band classes that have been mentioned tonight, but we were really focusing on the concert band of things, or the concert bands that we have. The Minnesota Marching Band meets every fall, and that's a 320 member group. And they have been meeting in person, but also because of the directive that we had to be online for the beginning of the year, there was a big chunk of time that was training and SPAC camp that went online. And the first two weeks of the semester were online. Actually, Dr. Sample, do you want to talk a little bit about just marching band?
Sure. So we've basically, with what you said there at the beginning, we did have to make a complete pivot in how we did our marching band camp. So we went completely virtual on Zoom. So that involved some of our student leaders working with our students, or working with our rookies, or what we call our rookies, our first year students. And that presented some challenges as well, but it was a great experience. And we actually got quite a bit done with that, because then that helped in transitioning when we went in person. And a lot of everything that happened just was able to transfer over quite well. And it only took maybe about a few days to really get back, everything get on track. So that was great. We have been recording, actually, and we've been preparing marching band shows to prepare for, or to have and be used and recorded and to be played in our football games. As a matter of fact, we're going to be performing for ESPN College Game Day on Saturday, and some of our recording, some of our footage that we've recorded will be played and performed over during halftime. So that has been something we've been doing continuously, and we're continuing to do that till the end of this, or actually till November or mid-November or so. So we're just going to continue doing that.
Thanks. Yeah, and it's Game Day Live is the second screen experience. You go to gophersports.com and you'll be able to kind of tune into the additional screen during the game. The other actually group or ensemble is athletic pep bands, and that's another thing that Dr. Sample's leading. So you want to talk real briefly about how athletic bands are going this semester?
Sure. So with the athletic pep bands, in general, there are no indoor sports for this semester. And it looks like there will be some indoor sports for the spring, or actually later this month, beginning with hockey. But we are not sure as far as whether they're going to allow fans. More than likely, that will probably not be the case. But because of that, we have decided to be prepared for it. So athletic pep bands has been virtual as well. And what we've been doing is been preparing them in working, and they basically submit recordings, assignments of tunes that they would be playing in rehearsal and then also playing in live sporting events as well. So that way, when the time comes that we are set to play or invited to play for those games, that they would be prepared and wouldn't take long to get everything ready for them. So, and we have 3 athletic pep bands. We have our Gopher Pep Band that's mostly for first year members. And then after they go through the first year in Gopher Band, then we have 2 other pep bands, a Maroon Pep Band that primarily plays at hockey events, and our Gold Band that performs at primarily basketball events, men's basketball events. So that's what we have there. And we perform at more than about 72 events throughout a normal season, spanning from literally the first week of the semester up until March. So that's how athletic pep bands work.
All right. Thanks so much for that. And I think it should be stated that because of the sheer number of people in the marching band, all marching band rehearsals are outside. So on Tuesday, marching band was canceled because we had a lot of snow. But I just wanted to bring your attention to just a few events that we have coming up. It's been mentioned a couple times that the University Wind Ensemble and University Symphony Orchestra are recording their 2nd cycle of music tomorrow, and that will be broadcast at a later date that hasn't been determined yet, but stay tuned on social media. If you like the conversation tonight and you want to come back for more, next week we're going to be speaking with the choir directors. That's Thursday the 29th from 7 to 8 p.m. And then we do have a broadcast that's scheduled. Our jazz ensembles and combos will be having their broadcast on October 30th. So that's next Friday. So tune into that. And Natalie has some more things to say.
Just one more shameless plug here. We're also doing a series of information sessions for prospective students who are looking to apply to the School of Music. And those are every Thursday. This upcoming one on Thursday, October 29th is going to feature a student perspective, but every other week we have technical help with our technical expert, Mike Duffy. So that's been really helpful since we've switched to an all online audition process for the fall and spring 21 cycles. So we'd love for you to follow us on social media as well. If you follow at UMN Music and at UMN Bands, you'll find us there. Also, if you selected yes about receiving news, we have your email address recorded and you're on all of our lists.
We got a Q&A question at the last minute, and actually I might want to ask one of the students to answer this. The question is, are you able to use practice rooms as normal?
I haven't been using practice rooms. I've been playing in my house. McKenna, I don't know if you have been using them. I know they are available though.
Yes, they are available. So my understanding, the percussion side of things is a little bit different, but my understanding is that instruments, people that play piano or anything else besides percussion, are assigned a specific practice room that they always, that is their room for the entire year. I believe there's not like a time restraint that you can practice now. However, you have to allow at least an hour of time of ventilation in between each person that practices. And there's like a schedule actually that the whole school can see where you sign up for your time slot. So you can coordinate with the people that are also using that same room as you. And there's things to sanitize and all of that. So it's a really impressive system, honestly. And I feel personally that I've gotten enough practice time.
Thank you. All right, so 2 more things. Follow us on social media. It's UMN Music and UMN Bands. That's the best way to stay up to date with what's going on in our community. Receive up-to-date information about news and events. If you opted in to receive our emails when you registered for this webinar, we have your email address and it's been recorded, so we'll add you to our email lists. And then after this webinar, there is a brief 4-question survey. So we appreciate your feedback, and it'll just help us evaluate how this session went. The last question provides space for comments, and if you don't have a comment, you can just list none. So we really appreciate you tuning in tonight. Sorry we went 3 minutes over, but it's all good, and we answered the question that we got. So thank you again to all of the panelists and students. This was a really helpful, enlightening talk, and go Gophers, right? Okay. Bye. Thank you again.
Bye, everyone.